Hey, thanks for joining me on this video. What I want to do tonight is I want to do a little crevicing, looking for gold. And crevicing is where you dig between the rocks and you look for flakes or nuggets that have worked their way down into the rocks. And I'm hoping to find a few. I was down here the first or second day we got here, and I dug out a couple crevices and did pretty good. Let me show you what I did then. Look at these rocks right here. Look at these ledges. What happens is the gold over the centuries will get washed down through here, and it'll hit these ledges and fall down and get caught in these cracks right here, just like that, all along the edge. You notice how it looks just like a riffle in a pan, a gold pan. It's like a natural riffle. So what we're going to do, and what I did here is I dug these out a few nights ago and got some decent gold. I mean, nothing great, but it was fun. But what we're going to do tonight is we're going to dig out this area right here. For some reason, it's just drawing me to it, okay? Let's take a look. We have a bunch of rocks piled up on top. I don't know if this has ever been dug, but I kind of think it hasn't. You have this big flat rock that's sloping down this way, and you have this rock going across here. So I think it's going to create a natural trap right here, probably down about 2 feet, that the gold will have washed across here over the centuries and come up over this ledge and settle down and worked its way down right to the hard pan right here, right to where the bedrock is, right along this edge. See, this tree's growing right here, and this just doesn't look like it's been dug to me. I could be wrong though, because there's been a lot of people digging here. Enough talking. Let's find out if I'm wrong. Want to take bets? So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to strip off a bunch of these rocks, all of the big rocks. I'm going to hook them with a pick, pull them back, and just throw them to the side, because what we really want is the dirt that's down lower. We want to get closer to the bedrock. So let's just strip this top stuff off first. And we'll just throw this to the side in an area where we're not going to be working, I hope. And I may even put my gloves on before too long. These look like they've been moved probably from over here. Someone dug here earlier and threw these up on top, but for some reason I'm just thinking that this hasn't been dug where they piled the rocks. So we'll keep digging. What I'm going to do is turn the camera off for a bit, clear out to about right here, and start digging down. And let's just see what I'm seeing in about 20 minutes. As I'm picking the rocks out of here, I just wanted to show you this neat phenomenon. I just picked this one from in here. It was like, yeah, it was down in here like this, okay? And I just pulled it back. Now look at the soil here, okay? Look how it's really fine over here. See how fine that is? But it's coarse here. And that just goes to show you how material, including gold, is getting behind that rock that's acting like a riffle and going down in there. It's like that. So it's catching right in here. That might be something worth panning right there. But we want to get down deeper. We want to get the older stuff that has been going on for centuries, many, many centuries. That may have only been going on for a couple decades. Where the old GPAA guys, Gold Prospectors Association of America guys, this was one of their claims, may have thrown those rocks on a pile when they cleaned out in front of it years ago. So I want you to take a look at what we have so far. What I've done is I've stripped off a lot of the big rocks and the loose and bigger sand and gravel. And I've thrown it over here. And what I mean by the bigger, looser sand and gravel is this stuff right here. This is probably the result or a function of Highbankers that people have set up over the years. In fact, if you look at the base of my tripod, there's a little pile of stones. That's where someone had a Highbanker set up and was working. Probably the dirt off of that bank right there. So some of that's washing down to here, the finer stuff during floods, and gathering right here behind the rock. So we're not even going to bother with that. But as we move further up here, you'll notice that I'm starting to see clay. There's some clay in here. And that tells me this has probably never been worked, this area right in here. Because if they had worked this, they would have taken out all the clay. They'd run it through a Highbanker and it would be gone. But there's still clay in place here. So I'm going to scoop up a pan of this loose material right in here. I'm going to put it in this pan. I'm going to take it down to the river and pan it out. In just a couple minutes, I'll show you what we have. Now, if nothing pans out of that one, we're going to go down to the next layer, which is right on the bedrock. And if nothing pans out of that one, we're going to start peeling the rock back and getting underneath it. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. This is the pan I'm getting ready to take down to the river. As you can see, I'm pretty much down to the bedrock right now. So the very next step is going to be to peel off these layers right here, like this one. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But let's check this pan first. If we can find significant gold in that pan, what we'll do next is we'll continue to work this hole up that way, gather up a bunch of material, and run it through the Highbankers. Because we can't process much material with a pan. A pan's really just for sampling. Once we get a good sample, we'll gather up all the material, and we can run it through a Highbanker lickety-split. Let's go pan this out first. I'll be right back. So I have the pan worked down to just a little bit. I can see lots of garnets in there and some black sand and garnet sand, so that's a really good sign. I'm very hopeful. I'm gonna have to move the camera so you can see in here though, so just hold on a second. All right, so here's the pan. We're gonna shake, 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 get it all to the bottom. I'm gonna pull out that big rock right there. Just so, I think I got DEET on there. Hope that doesn't hurt anything. You can see the oil. We're going to shake it like that and flatten it out a little bit. We're just going to roll it around and start removing some of the lighter stuff. There's a lot of garnets in there and garnet sand. So I'm very hopeful. Thought I saw some, but I think it's just, oh, there's some gold right there. A little bit showing up right there. It's not, oh, look at that. You know what? That's actually a really good pan. I know I'm moving around a little bit, but look, that's not bad at all. That's really decent. You can see all these, that's a little chunk there. It's not a picker, but it's a nice chunk. There's a bunch of them in there. That's awesome. That's definitely worth checking. If we ran, you know, 100 buckets of that, I would probably have an ounce or so of gold out of that hole right there. Well, let's do this. Let's go ahead, dig up some of these rocks and look under the rocks and those cracks that are going down. Because if we found that much gold right there, there's probably a lot more in those cracks. That's our next step. I gotta get the sucker bottle and save that though, because that's worth saving. For me anyway. Now watch what I do as I peel these rocks back. I'm just gonna drive the pick edge under there and just pry it up without breaking the handle. And I'll show you something. I probably really should, I need to wear gloves more often. Those band-aids aren't gonna keep me safe. So what we wanna do, this doesn't look real great. There's not a lot of mud stuck to here, but if you look in here, you can see these little, this gravel right there. There's a little bit of, yeah, there's some clay there. See that clay? That's probably gonna have a fair amount of gold in it, I would suspect. That has filtered down in there and gotten trapped here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pry up a bunch of these rocks, gather up some more of this soil right here, the sand and gravel that I didn't get last time. I'm going to put some gloves on though and get a little digger and get a pan full of stuff and we'll check it out. So what I'm doing is I'm just using this little hammer and I'm flipping over these rocks. I really need to get a bucket of water to clean these off good. I'm going to save that one. And we're just going to dig up this loose schist and decomposing schist. And we're going to pan out. That's a nice little hole right here. If you look right here, everything kind of funnels down. So this could be a little pocket right here that could have some decent gold in it. So I'm going to loosen that up. We're going to throw it in the pan. And again, we're still just sampling right now. If this is really good, we'll use some other methods to get a lot more dirt faster. Because panning takes a lot of time. And we really just need to be moving material. That looks really good up under there. Again, I'm going to save those rocks and I'm going to wash those off in a bucket. And I'll show you how I do that in a minute. Go ahead and move some of these. Should have glasses on, but all right, put him in my cabin. I don't want to go up and get him right now. All right. There we go. See that? I'm trying to get to this area right here because it kind of goes down and the rocks are fairly loose, so I'm thinking that there might be some gold in there underneath them. There we go. Just pick that off. But you got to get just a certain piece to get the puzzle to unlock. There we go. That's it. That's the piece right there. Pull it back. Get rid of a couple of these rocks. Yeah, it's reddish in there. It looks a lot different, so I'm hoping that's some good stuff. All right. Get as close to the bottom as we can with our fingers for now. Dig him out with a pick as best we can. Look, we're still going down. Could easily be gold in there too. All this stuff right here. All right. But our pan's full. So I'm gonna take it down to the river, pan it out, come back, and we'll look and see what we have. I figured I'd bring you down to the river with me because this is really kind of the fun part. You know, just sitting here near the river, listening to it, mosquitoes buzzing all around me happily, and you know, they just seem like you're having a great time. Snow drifts. What's not to love? And it's warm. That's the amazing part. Okay, so I got this bucket. It's full of sand and stones, a lot of big rocks. So I need to wash them clean first. So let's go ahead and submerge it. Okay, let the bubbles come up. We'll start shaking it a little bit so that the stones start to get, the gravel is loosening up and the gold is sinking to the bottom. That's what we want. Wash off a little bit of the light silt. We'll shake it a little bit harder. Everything's sinking to the bottom. There we go. I can feel the rocks moving on the bottom, sliding around, so we know there's no clay balls holding up the operations. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to go ahead and rake off these big rocks. All the gold should be underneath them by now. And I may do that one more time. Okay, it's starting to stiffen up a little bit. I think there's going to be a lot of black sand in here. So we want to get all that silt off. The really light stuff we're just washing off right now. Coming off those rocks. And we've got another big layer of rocks right there. So let's go ahead and pick these off. Scrape them off the top. All the good stuff down a ways yet. Okay, let's try that again. Get everything moving. Want to feel the rocks sliding around on the bottom. Same process. Get the silt that's coming to the surface. We want to get that off. I'm going to rake the rocks one more time. And we'll call it quits on doing that. Should have washed off there first though. Alright, let's go ahead and pan her down. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'll try to move so you can see a little bit of what I'm doing. Now, you might ask, hey Mr. Bo, I noticed you're digging big holes everywhere. Is that a problem? Well, this is a mining claim. This is actually a mining operation. And what we're doing is minuscule compared to what Mother Nature does every spring. So this river will be really high. There'll be giant chunks of ice floating down it, tearing up the bottom, tearing up the sides. And that's just nature doing what nature does. So what we're doing here, all evidence of that will be removed by Mother Nature within the next year or so. All right. So we're getting down. I'll make sure everything's shaking up good. Total motion in the pan. And I'll start going a little slower now. Wave in, wave out. Takes off the top layer, the top thin layer of gravel and sand. And we'll leave the gold in the very bottom. Okay, we're getting close to the end. I'm going to go ahead and shake everything down again to make sure there's no clay balls in here. right at the very bottom. There was a little bit of buildup of black sand. We want everything to be in motion. We want the gold to be able to sink to the very bottom. Now one more big rock and get rid of that. And we're almost there. I'm going to go ahead and pull some of these big rocks out so that you can see what's going on better. Pull them up to the end here, make sure they're washed off good. And the gold nuggets going out with them. You can see that. Alright. Almost done. I'm filling up the riffles. Going to wash a little bit off the top. Shake it a couple more times. Wash a little off the top. Just like that. One more time. Alright, let's see what we have. I'll gather a little water in there and we'll check it out. We're going to shake everything down to the bottom. Just like that. And they'll all be caught right on that. The gold will be caught right on that bottom edge there. I like to flatten it out like that. And then we'll just swirl it a little bit until the gold appears. See lots of garnet sand in there. You see how red it is. I'm going to pull these big rocks down so we don't have to fuss with them. And we'll just swirl that around until the gold appears, hopefully. There's a speck right there. We've got one speck there. You got a little speck here. So there is some gold here in this pan. Going around, going around. Oh, there's a bunch of them showing up now. Look at that. See the black sand? Made a mess of this one, unfortunately. Ooh, look at that. Oh, yeah. Now, oh, buddy. That's a decent pan right there. I'm starting to lose it down into this corner right here, but we're going to go ahead. I just want to shake this out so you can see it. And I'll fix this. Yeah, that's a good pan right there. A nice chunky piece. Lots of little pieces. Now, for one pan, you know, that's not a lot, but if we start putting that in buckets and running it through the Highbanker, you know, we can do a couple hundred of these pans in an hour, and that would add up quick. Let's go over there and gather up one more thing of dirt. I'm going to show you how to wash off the rocks into a bucket. And that usually has a lot of gold on it too, and then we'll pan that out as well. I'm going to go ahead and get the sucker bottle out, and then I'll save this for camera is covered with mosquitoes. It's horrible. I have DEET on, so they're not bothering me bad yet, but boy, I tell you, there's a cloud of them around the camera. Well, it looks like I'm going to have to get some more bug spray because they're getting kind of aggressive this evening. But I wanted to show you what I was talking about washing off the rocks. These are the rocks that I just broke open, some of this decomposing schist. And what I like to do is just take this and just put it in a bucket of water like that and just wash it off. That way all the gold can be in the bucket and we can run that through the Highbanker up there. We don't want to take this up to the Highbanker and carry it up there and wash it off if we don't have to, because it's a big rock. Smaller ones are no problem, but for me it's just easier just to do this and not have to carry a lot of heavy rocks around. I'd rather just carry heavy dirt. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and continue doing this. I'll get a bucket or two of this dirt and we'll bring it up to one of the Highbankers and we'll run it through that. It's probably 11:30 at night right now, so I'm not going to do this too much longer today. But I do want to get at least a couple good buckets of dirt. And it'll take me probably a good half an hour with this type of material. So I've been digging for probably an hour and a half, just picking my way through the rocks. And I've ended up with 5 buckets of raw materials and 1 bucket of the stuff that I washed off the rocks. So what I'm going to do, well, let me show you this first. These are the 5 buckets that I have. And I work from about here up through that crack. You see how I cleaned it out there? I wish I could do a little better job. If I had a brush and some other stuff, I probably could. But I think I have some pretty good material. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to take the bucket that has the it's like midnight now, rock washings down to the creek, and I'm just going to pan that because there's not too much in there, and I just want to see how much of a difference it makes, or how much gold actually does get stuck on those rocks compared to what is in the material you can just scrape out with your fingers. I'm going to go do that, come back, I'll show you what's in the pan. Then we're going to fire up the water pump down there, and the Highbankers are actually way up there. So I'll transport the buckets up there. We're at the old Ford Polaris. I can't even talk. We'll run them real quick, check them out, and be done for the night. So I went ahead and panned out the bucket that had just the gold that was stuck to the rocks, you know, where I washed the rocks off. And we did really, really well. The sun's really bright too. All right, are you ready? You're gonna like this. I worked it down pretty good already, so you can see it. Look at that. That's high grading, baby. That's not bad at all, is it? I don't know if it'll look any better. I'm gonna try to zoom for you. Okay, I wanted to try this in the sun because it was a little hard to see maybe. I can't see through the viewfinder, so that's the gold from just the bottom of the rocks that was stuck to the rocks, and that's not bad at all. You can see there's more down in there. I'm going to go ahead and suck this up in the sucker bottle, and then we'll run these 5 buckets of material through the Highbanker, hopefully before the sun sets. I have all 5 buckets run through the Highbanker, so I'll go ahead and turn off the pump down at the river. We'll take a peek in there before we pull out the mats and clean them up, just to see if we can see any gold. I'm hoping we do. Peace and quiet again. It's one thing about Highbankers and dredges is they make a lot of noise, and I'll be honest with you, I kind of like them quiet. Almost like panning. I really like panning. You don't find as much because you can't move as much material, but I think you can enjoy nature more. All right, let's see what we got. We'll have to take these mats out and clean them, but we can look to see. Look, there's some gold in there for sure. You can see some scattered around. There's a nice little chunky piece there. Not quite a picker, but close. All right, so what I'm going to do is most of the gold will be here and right in this area. In one of my other videos, I showed you how I take that apart and clean the mats and put all of the material into a bucket, the concentrates, and we'll take it then we'll take it down to the river and we'll pan it out. There's not much there, so it'd be really easy to pan, I hope so. All right, I'm gonna put the camera up, take care of that, and I'll meet you down in the river in about 15 minutes. So I have all the concentrates in this pan. You can see there's not very much, so it should make for a quick operation, panning it. Dump it into there. Be very careful to get every drop. And this is going to be all heavy. It's all black sand, gold, garnets. Just really swirl to get it to mix up good. You see, it's still a lot in there. There we go. Don't want to leave a drop. That can be the gold. That just dropped a little bit. All right, got to be a little more careful here. All right, that's good. So, I'm going to head out to my bucket there. We're going to pan it out, and then we'll see what we have. Well, we're almost done. I had to go get my rain jacket because the mosquitoes were tearing my back up. All right, let's take a look together. Tip the camera down a wee bit. All right, are you ready? Maybe a little bit more. Okay. There's a lot of black sand in there and a lot of garnet sand. It might be a little bit hard to see. I might have to get it down a little bit more, but this will give us an idea. But you can see all the heavies in here. Those are garnets, and ooh, I see gold. Look, see it? Mosquitoes are so bad right now that I'm thinking I might do this in the morning. We're starting to lose a little bit here, so we're just going to do it real quick. depending on what we see. We're definitely washing some by. Alright, I'm gonna redo this. Hold on. Okay, so I have the two pans. One has 5 buckets of the sand and gravel that we ran through the Highbanker. The other one just has the sand and gravel and the clay that was stuck to the rocks. You remember the ones, the rocks that I washed. And you know what? They're not much different, really. So the rocks do hold a lot of gold. Those tiny cracks between the rocks have a lot of gold in them. Let's take a look. This is the one where we cleaned off the rocks, and it goes to show that there was a lot of gold stuck to the rocks. So let me show you the one I just panned, and this has the 5 buckets in it, okay? That's still pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of gold there for 5 buckets. I wouldn't complain about that at all. Excellent. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and looking for gold in the cracks in the rocks, because that's one of my favorite ways to look for gold. I mean, dredging's okay, and you can find a ton of gold dredging. The high banking's kind of fun, but I really enjoyed just getting in there with a little pick and going through the cracks and just working out the little nuggets and stuff. It's quiet and it's peaceful, and I just enjoyed that the most. And don't forget that Spencer does want me to let you know that this claim here, people can come up here if they want to, preferably groups of people. Like if you're belong to a gold club or something and you wanted to rent the equipment and the building and whatnot, they'll love to have you up here. They have the dredgers, they have high bankers, or you can just go hiking or whatever. So it's an option for you. Rent it for a month. You can have 30 people up here if you want to over the course of a month for one price, which is awesome. So thanks again for watching. We'll see you again on another video, I promise, soon.